many decisions do you think you made today? Leadership is made up of hundreds of thousands of decisions, big, small, complex, simple, public, private. Every decision feels so important. Well, maybe not every decision, but all of your choices over time shape your culture, your influence, and your future. But here's the question: are you making healthy decisions, or are you falling prey to resulting? When I was a young leader, I used to believe there was one right decision. Well, later I matured into thinking there was going to be a best decision. Actually, neither one of these are a joy filled, effective way to make decisions. I'm going to tell you a story of a decision that helped me reshape that idea. So, if you are new here, welcome to the Joyosity Podcast. I'm glad you found your way to this corner of leadership and life where we are putting joy in the center. I'm Jenn Whitmer, international keynote speaker, leadership consultant, all around joy bringer, and we're jumping back in this fall. So if you are returning, so glad that you're here. We're continuing our series inspired by my upcoming book, Joyosity: How to Cultivate Intense Happiness in Work and Life, even if things are what they are. And around here, we're not settling for toxicity and constant overwhelm and exhaustion of all of the too muches. In each episode, I'm going to help you move past that and bring you stories and research and tools that you can use right away to bring joy into your workplace, into your life, so you have a thriving workplace. And we are starting with yourself. So I can remember a decision that I really agonized over as a leader because it felt huge. It impacted hundreds of people and what felt like the future of our organization. We were shifting an entire standardized testing platform from something that was comfortable and known to an entirely new way of assessing students. And I was wound up tight. And I was really chasing the best decision. And like, oh, what's the best decision? I'm sure you've said that too. I've heard it out of the mouths of so many leaders. And I analyzed and overanalyzed. And I just kept rehearsing all of the what ifs and spinning out the scenarios and the decision trees. And my head of school at the time, a leader that I admire deeply, he looked at me and he said, "There is no best decision. We can only make a wise decision with a good process. We can never control the outcomes." I mean, I just had to breathe that in. And that reframed how I really see not only just leadership decisions, if we think about the role that you play or the roles that I play, but really all decisions. There is no best decision. There's a wise decision with a good process. And one of the other things that has led me to believe is that you show up, you tell the truth, and you don't get attached to results. And the problem is, so many of the time we confuse good outcomes and good results with good decisions, and bad outcomes and bad results with bad decisions. That's called resulting. And that's a term that's borrowed from poker players, actually, where players face luck in every single hand that they play. And Annie Duke is a professional poker player and author, and other poker players describe resulting as how we assume outcomes prove the quality of a decision. But that's a trap. It's a trap because it's Monday morning quarterbacking yourself. And resulting means that we shackle ourselves to the outcomes. We shackle ourselves to the results. And we judge our decisions, and then often you judge yourself based only on whether things turned out the way we hoped. It's exhausting. It steals your joy, and it keeps leaders from making confident, wise choices. So here's here's some data to help you understand why resulting is a bad practice for you as a leader. It's such an easy trap. So I am not here to shame you. I am here to say I have been there, and let me show you out of this hole. Leaders make approximately 35,000 decisions a day. 35,000 decisions a day. And decision fatigue is one of the contributing causes to disengagement and often burnout. And research shows that teams are 12 times more engaged when they trust the leadership decision-making process. Regardless of the outcome, if there is transparency and a clear process around how decisions are made, teams are more engaged. They are more trusting. And here's the thing that your neuroscience, your neurobiology, again, the literal body part of your brain, confirms. Wise decisions don't just come from raw knowledge, but how you integrate that knowledge with context and values and your emotions. Because often we are secluding different parts of our brain, which actually limits the power of who you are and what you have to offer in a decision-making process. So if you're making 35,000 decisions today and you don't have a clear process and you're only using one small part of your brain, you are limiting even what you want, which is good results, because you're tying everything to that. So the exhaustion and lack of joy might not just be because bad things keep happening or the outcomes themselves aren't what you want, but really from the way you evaluate and make decisions. So quick pause here. My new book, Joyosity, How to Cultivate Intense Happiness in Work and Life, Even if Things Are What They Are, is coming this fall. And I am thrilled to share. It is endorsed by Will Guidara. He wrote a lovely praise piece for the book. If you don't know Will Guidara, he's phenomenal. He's a New York Times bestselling author of Unreasonable Hospitality. He's the co-producer of FX's The Bear and host of the Welcome Conference that I have attended a couple times, and it's amazing, and former co-owner of 11 Madison Park, named the best restaurant in the world. So Will knows a little bit about making decisions and how decisions shape culture, service, and excellence. So I'm so honored to have his voice endorsing Joyosity. And you can pre-order the book right now. And in the same place at jennwhitmer.com/books, you can join the VIP. So the Joyosity Works Very Important Party is a group of early access readers, and you can join the group, get some special things. There's just so much goodness. It's too much to talk about in the podcast. So go to jennwhitmer.com/books, and the link is in the show notes. So let's jump back into decision making. So last week when we were talking about conflict, we shifted from this idea that conflict is a failure or a problem into conflict as an opportunity. Here's the shift that I want you to make about decision making. The process of decisions is making decisions. Let me rewind just a second. When we think about the shift of decision making, the process of how you make decisions is actually more important than the decision itself. The process of how you make decisions is more important than the decision itself. And I want you to think about how you start to make wise decisions, not the right decision, which is this binary good, bad, right, wrong. Not just best decisions, which is a superlative. So you've got, good, better, best, or, bad, good, better, best. That's a superlative. That is okay. It's a little bit better because there are more options. But I want you to start thinking of making wise decisions. And here is the little piece of information I want you to take today, that knowledge is rote, recall, and facts. What are the facts of the situation? That's knowledge. Even comprehension is just understanding that fact. Wisdom involves so much more. Wisdom is pulling apart context. It's evaluating options. It's synthesizing a way forward. It uses all parts of your brain. It's going to use your body, it's going to use your emotions, and it's going to use your mind, your logic. So when you bring all of these together, you've got wisdom. And wisdom includes increasing your awareness of what influences your decision: timeline, people involved, preferences, your values, even your desires and wants. All of those things are influencing your decision. And if you're not aware of them, they're still influencing your decision. Just because you try to ignore your emotions or ignore what you want to do, it's still going to have an influence. And if you are actively saying no to your emotions and your wants and your preferences, you're cutting off a key piece of wisdom. That is an important part of leadership. Leadership, you didn't just become a leader because you showed up one day and you were there long enough, although that happens to many people. You want something more than that. You've got to bring the context. You've got to bring the values. All of that has to be involved in a wise decision-making process. That's when you're using the fullness of not only your neurobiology, but of your life's experiences. You bring in what you've learned before. Not based in fear, not like, oh my gosh, I don't want that to happen again, but like, oh, how did that happen? I would like to avoid that, but not out of fear, but out of strategy. When you understand all those influences, you can integrate those influences so you can make an informed, wise choice. In this wise process, you are making informed decisions almost independent of the results. And that is when you show up, you tell the truth, and you don't get attached to results. That process creates resilient joy, regardless of the outcome. Resulting is going to steal your joy. Wisdom is going to restore it, because wisdom plays a stronger game of joy than knowledge ever could. Next week, we're going to talk a little bit more about how you bring that resilience that you do from making decisions into how you manage stress, making decisions around how you manage stress so you can make those informed decisions without losing yourself and your joy in that process. So I'm going to just, put my little coach hat on here. I want you to think about, are you evaluating your decisions based on the outcome? Or do you have a clear process? When I work through this exercise with clients in a much broader sense, I have called the Joyosity Jumpstart. It is a strategy call. We talk about having green, yellow, and red. And if you think about, red is, oh yeah, I have no process. I just make decisions. Or yellow is, ooh, I'm resulting, or I'm using too much emotion. Like, I don't think I have a clear, transparent process. And green is, absolutely, I've got a great process. I integrate wisdom. I know all those things. Give yourself, where are you? How are you evaluating your decisions? And is it bringing you joy? If you're not sure where to start, I would love for you to pre-order the book so you can grab on to how you can make those decisions, because I've got all of that for you in the book and in the accompanying playbook. The other thing that you can do is just email me. Like, ooh, I'm kind of struggling with this. And we can go back and forth and see if maybe a jumpstart session is good for you, or even a spark call. So you can just email me at Jenn with 2 N's at jennwhitmer.com. And if you know somebody else that is struggling to connect their decisions and daily actions where it matters most, share this episode with them. Say, hey, this is a way about making decisions that I think is going to be really helpful for you, for us. Share this episode. Come find me on LinkedIn, Instagram at Jenn_Whitmer. Like I said, you can drop me an email. All these links are in the show notes, but I would love to hear what you think about this. I would love to hear your fears, your rebuttals. You're like, wait, no. What about this? Because this conversation back and forth is how we grow and how we connect and how we continue the movement. Because I know you've got a lot of people talking in your ears. And thank you for spending time for your own growth and with me in the Joyosity podcast. And if you would rate and subscribe, it helps other leaders join us in this movement of creating and cultivating positive culture with complex people. So work is a joy, and people are whole, and organizations flourish. And let me leave you with this: that wisdom plays a stronger game of joy than knowledge ever ever could.